Israel today played the game with more cards on the table. As they say, लातों के भूत बातों से नहीं मानते. But this kind of ideology, which only knows killing, which only knows to bring suffering to this world, and only has one thing, the afterlife as a reward for them, you cannot negotiate with them. Israel always gives a good example from its past. It will be tit and tat. It will be us going in for other targets which we have not touched or destroyed. Tell them there is a high price to pay. It will be not economical. It will be in blood. So when India stopped its operation against Pakistan, now also pressure will come to bear on Israel. Stop. It's not an operation, it's war. It will not be over in a few days. And Israel today is not the same which was it. The Jewish people are not like 80 years ago, helpless and at the mercy of others. When you go for a war front, there is no office hours. It's not between 9 to 4.
Namaskar. Welcome. Today we have Mr. Gabriel, who's connecting with us from Israel directly. And Gabriel, welcome to the channel of TFI. And
Shalom,
thank you
namaskar,
so
sir.
much for sparing your time to come to us and talk with our audience. So we would like to hear from you the first-hand information as to what exactly is happening, what operations have been undertaken, why was this operation undertaken, why was Israel compelled to take action against Iran. So let us understand from Gabriel, from his own voice. Gabriel, the floor is all yours.
Thank you, sir. So this story, which has happened today, began about 20 years ago when the regime in Iran started to develop nuclear energy. It's not nuclear energy, it's nuclear atomic and nuclear arms. So it begins 20 years, and today it came full circle with Israel taking action, because as the saying goes in our holy scriptures, one who rises to attack you, you rise and kill him first. This is a principle which we have adhered to, especially after the Holocaust. So the Israeli nation took action, taking into consideration the future of our children, our religion, our culture, our well-being. Israel is a nation surrounded by enemies on all sides, and especially the Iranian regime proved how potent it is when the whole world saw the attack on 7th of October, which was handled by proxies. We had a war on 7 fronts, but Iran was the head of the octopus, as they say. So this war, which is going on for about more than 1.5 months, to 6 months, 7 months now, 600 days plus, it would have not ended without Israel taking action against the root cause, the Iranian regime. And I repeat, not the Iranian people, the Iranian regime, which sits in Tehran. So today, Israel is on a war front. If you want to know what's the mood here in Israel, it's as normal as it can be. We have relaxed all the emergency procedures which were given by the Rear Command here, because now news has come in about half an hour ago, 100 or so UAVs and drones which were approaching Israel have been brought down. Most of them outside Israeli territory, if not all. So we are behaving normally, but we are bracing ourselves that there should be an attack by the Iranians, because they have to save face. This murderous regime which sits in Tehran will not be calmed without spilling Jewish blood. They will not go for infrastructure. They will not go for army assets. They want blood. And we know fully well, when someone says and someone does something and he speaks against your well-being, you have to take him as seriously as it can be. So we today in the today morning, early morning, at about 5 minutes 3 exactly, we had alerts going on in Israel. First one was a siren, which was sounded on the loudspeakers throughout the land, and second one was on our mobiles. Each and every Israeli who has a mobile got an alert that it's
Okay.
time to go in your emergency room, in your bomb room or your bunker, and be ready for an attack. Then we put on a news and we came to know that we have taken the first attack. We have taken the attack to Iran first. We have attacked them, and we have to be ready for any attack which will come from them.
So, Gabriel, you have given us the background as to why you had to undertake this attack. And from your statement, I gather that it is not against the Iranian people, it is against the Iranian regime. That thing is very, very clear. And I should draw parallels with Operation Sindoor, the attack which Iran undertook. Uh, you have christened it Operation Rising Lion, if I'm not wrong. And
Yeah,
Operation Rising Lion can draw similes from Operation Sindoor. Like in Operation Sindoor, what we did was that we undertook the attack at the dead of the night so that there is no collateral damage, or we may have least collateral damage. Probably Israel also followed the same dictum. In order to avoid collateral damage, your first wave went in the dead of the night, and it was a precision strike. So Israel undertook the attack in a number of waves. So can you please walk us through as to what was the first wave which was undertaken by Israel in Operation Rising Lion?
to my knowledge and my experience, I can tell you one thing. Air Force was involved. Okay, everyone knows it. About a few dozen aircrafts flew from Israel towards the Iranian border, overpassing the Syrian and the Iraqi nations. Then there were UAVs involved, and let me tell you something you may be knowing, a few of you, that as the Iranian attack happened, when they brought in drones by trucks, Israel had formed a base in the heart of Iran with our drones and special mobile vehicles with this technology, which at the given time struck deep in the heart of the Iranian enemy. And to stick my neck out, I can say even those targets which were hit precisely, human targets, Iranian elite, we can say draw parallel from the attacks, the pager attacks, and the attack which happened before that with Hania. How an explosive got inside that fortified compound means that Iran was a playground for our Mossad. Now, I will not go into details how we can bring inside explosives and hit perfectly, as they say, घर पे आके मारना, घर के अंदर घुस के मारना.
घुस के मारना, yes.
Exactly where the bedroom is. If you have seen the movie Munich, how the Mossad had planted explosives inside apartments and other appliances. So this also took place. It will come out in another few days, but this is a multiple armed branches. Even the sea, you cannot count it out because Israel has assets to hit from the sea, submarines, and other naval. So
So, Gabriel,
were,
what I understand, sorry, please
these
continue.
things
Please
were
continue.
surely involved in this attack, which is as I said, multiple armed branched, and agencies which have taken place.
So, Gabriel, what I understand from your statement is that the first wave was not just aircrafts which were employed, you had employed UAVs also, and these UAVs probably took off from locations deep inside Tehran. That
Exactly.
means these UAVs would have been smuggled into Tehran, placed there, and then at this point of time, they took off from Tehran or any place in Iran and they struck the targets. And the third methodology was that explosive would have been smuggled into the place where these high value targets were staying, and then they were taken off with the help of these explosives. So these attacks were not just one pronged, they were three pronged. That is my understanding. Is that so?
Multi-pronged.
Multi pronged attack. Thank you
Because
so
you
much,
can
Gabriel.
count
And yes,
aerial assets,
G.
naval assets,
Okay.
intelligence assets,
Mm-hmm.
all working in synchronized manner to gain at the exact moment, because you have
Okay.
to all all these targets at the same time. Okay, there are multiple targets, as different sorts: human, infrastructure, nuclear, and others. So everyone has to be precise as a Swiss clock and strike at the given moment.
Got the point, Gabriel. So what happens is that these high value targets are taken off, and the Israeli forces find Iranians literally napping. They were caught napping. They didn't have the faintest of idea that something was coming into their way, and this was the methodology that was adopted by the Israeli defense forces. So now, since the target has been neutralized or engaged, whatever be the case, the Iranian security forces will wake up and they will mount a counter-offensive. So, did you face any counter-offensive from the Iranians immediately after the first strike?
Yes, as I told you, 100 or so UAVs and drones were heading towards Israel for the
Hmm.
last 2 to 3 hours, the
Okay.
flight time. And the
Hmm.
Israeli Air Force brought these drones down on Saudi, Jordanian, and Syrian airspace. Just before
So,
they have not crossed the Israeli border. So we brought them down there. But Israel will now wait. If not, we have pre-planned attacks, but we will wait for this attack coming from Iran, how lethal it's going to be. Because that proves to us, are they going for the other mile? If they want to go and fight for another day, if they are going for a civilian targets. Because in war, we can say, okay, it's all right to target each other's infrastructure and elites, military uh, high command. But if you go for the Israeli civilian, you will pay in blood.
thank you, Gabriel. So, when Israel undertook this offensive, what was the reaction of the Americans? Because the Americans were posturing, they were vacating their embassies, they were telling Iran that, okay, we will come to the negotiating table on the 14th of June, which was being, the deal was being brokered by Oman. So, during this attack or immediately after the attack, what was the reactions of the Americans, if at all it came?
See, the Americans are on board.
They are on board.
They are on board with Israel. They may have not helped us physically with this attack, but they were in the know. They knew beforehand. Israel cannot afford that American servicemen will be in harm's way if we go out alone and Iran strikes at their personnel. So the US knew about it, and you can take a telltale sign from yesterday when the Americans were evacuating the families
Mhm.
of their personnel who were based in bases around the Middle East. When these things take place, you can fairly say that an attack is imminent. When another nation, especially like the US, which is an ally of Israel, removes their civilians from a war zone, it means war is coming. So you can fairly say that Americans are involved. They are on ground here in Israel with the third missile system. So they have to know that we are waiting for a counter attack and they are going to help us, as the American President Trump has said that we will help Israel in all other ways to help it, to save it from attack from Iran.
Gabriel, I was given to understand that Mr. Rubio he said that we have got nothing to do with this attack which Israel has undertaken. So, do you feel that the Americans have washed their hands off? They don't want to support Israel, or they want to be neutral in this case?
They will never be neutral. This administration has proved itself in many ways, especially after the Biden administration. They are, I will not say 100%,
Hmm.
but more than 90%, they see eye to eye with Israel, especially the Iranian nuclear problem.
Okay,
They know that a peaceful Middle East cannot be peaceful without the Iranians, especially having nuclear weapons. This is a no go zone for any peace loving nation. So the Americans are on board now 100% after the
okay.
attack.
Gabriel, what I understand is that the Israelis have contacted or neutralized high value targets. These are humans, these are various commanders of various forces. Then you have taken on scientists who were involved in the production or testing of their nuclear weapons. You have also undertaken attack on their nuclear installation. So, am I correct to deduce that you have finished the nuclear capability of Iran, or are you in the process of doing so?
The Iranian problem is not over, it's far from that. But as my knowledge goes, the Natanz has been destroyed.
Destroyed.
The site in Natanz was housing the centrifuges, the modern ones. The main problem was in Natanz when they were not giving them the sub to inspect that place. Natanz, to my knowledge, has been destroyed, and the other is Isfahan.
Okay.
Isfahan too has been hit, and a lot of places have been hit. But if you go for a gun, it's not a gun without a trigger, without bullets. So if you go for the nuclear targets, you have to hit multiple targets. They have fusion material, as they say today, for 10 to 15 atomic bombs. You have to go for these two if we have that knowledge where they are kept. So we will go for these targets too. That will be up to the intelligence. And then we have to take out also the delivery system, the missiles. So we have to go for these. Now it will be clear in another few hours, just as the Indian audience knows satellite images, how crucial they are to assess a hit on a given target. So these will come into play. Intelligence surely is working full time now. Our boys are back, our pilots are back after hitting. They must be resting because a pilot has to be ready for another second wave. So now 5 waves have taken place. I
Okay.
don't know how many percentage of Israeli Air Force has uh, given its time here, but
Hmm.
time will tell soon. But
So,
always, sir,
what?
I will tell you one thing.
Yes, please.
Israel always gives a good example from its past. As you said, we had assets moved inside Iran. So you go a few years back and you can watch the vehicle which had an AI mounted gun
Hmm.
which took out the Iranian scientist.
Hmm.
So that was on a lower level.
Hmm.
Israel today played the game with more cards on the table. So these are signs, the pager attacks. When you move inside your enemy's area, you plant inside his area your assets, which at a given time will do their work.
Okay. Gabriel, I'm sure the Israeli Defense Forces would have learned something from Operation Sindoor that the Indian Armed Forces had carried out. So, if you can enumerate as to what all lessons you could gather from Operation Sindoor, and were they employed in this operation, Rising Lion, as Israel had carried out?
As a wise man has always said, you learn from others' mistakes. especially mistakes. So let's begin with mistakes. Let's be frank. One lesson is the narrative. Because as Pakistan and India were at war, a semi war, operation, a skirmish, you can call
Yes.
it any name. One thing which I was frustrated with India was the narrative war. Because today, the Israeli IDF spokesperson, and exactly after that, the Israeli Prime Minister came out. They spoke to the Israeli people and especially the world. They explained everything. Iran was an open book till then. The same thing I was frustrated with India. Why India took so much time to come out and explain to their own population and the world around. Because till that time, the lie from the Pakistani side had done 20 rounds around the world. So
Yes.
if you tell me that was one lesson, you have to come out immediately and explain what has happened and what you have gone for and why. This was lacking in India on India's side. Okay, the good lessons we learned from each other. We learned how India took down drones coming from Pakistan, low kinetic, high kinetic jammers. Israel and India are sharing all the time intelligence. It's not a secret. Israeli drones, suicide drones, Harpoon, especially were used. What the Pakistani was using against, more or less, the same technology is there with Iran.
Iran. Yes.
So how this works? How India bypassed the Pakistan defenses? How they took out targets? We are both civilized nations, so we did it in mid of night. But India, when you go for a war front, there is no office hours. It's not between 9 to 4. It is full time. You have to explain to the world, and you have to still explain now what exactly has happened. So, technology wise, narrative wise, you have to learn from each other. And this is what I think we have learned from the Indian, especially low tech, how it can be used. But I think we have passed that because now we have bought into the arena laser beam, which will cost at least 2 to $2.5 each takedown of a missile. So India also will learn from us. We will learn from India. This is a game which will be played sadly for a long time. But unless we do not take action as yesterday night, today night, we cannot hope that these evils will go away. We will have to take action and a ceasefire. The ceasefire which was forced, I don't know now how that will be for the Indian
Hmm.
side to explain. We have our own experiences when we too were forced to stop operations when we were feeling we had the upper hand. I will not say that Israel has not given in to pressure. So when India stopped its operation against Pakistan, now also pressure will come to bear on Israel. Stop.
Yes.
So now Israel has to go all out because this is, as I told you, is not a game or a operation. It's not an operation, it's war. It will not be over in a few days. It will be tit and tat. It will be us going in for other targets which we have not touched or destroyed. The same thing with India. When you went for your targets, have you finished them before you came into a
Hmm.
ceasefire, or you are still licking your wounds? Sorry,
Hmm.
it's not wounds, but you are
A
you are
mission is
saying
not
we
complete.
missed the chance, opportunity,
Yeah.
missed opportunity. Here, Israel cannot miss this opportunity because these weapons, as I told you before we began our conversation, is for a total destruction. And Israel today is not the same which was it. The Jewish people are not like 80 years ago, helpless and at the mercy of others. Israel is a strong nation, and we will take any action to thwart any threat against our people. So India should have the same mindset. Not one soldier or one civilian is expendable.
Exactly.
India should have the mindset. Not one, as the Prime Minister of India, Sir Modi, when he said, each and every action taken against us will have reactions. You have to keep it up. You have to be full to your promise to your people. And this is what is happening after 20 years when this game began. The nuclear in Natanz was a very formidable target. So,
So, Gabriel, you would have seen how India has changed its stance. Earlier, you would have noticed that India was giving dossiers to Pakistan, and Pakistan would say that there is no enough proof in that. Then we would go to Western powers and tell them that we have been attacked. But this time, you noticed that India took it upon itself and we went hammer and tongs after the terrorists. I won't say we went after Pakistan because our aim was to neutralize the terrorists and finish off their administrative bases and their training centers, which we did in only 23 minutes. Then the Pakistanis they retaliated or they made the foolhardy decision of crossing the boundaries and trying to attack Indian defense forces and Indian civilian installations. And they attacked the civilians. They attacked our temples. There were explosions at the temple gate in Jammu. You would have noticed that.
yeah.
Probably Israel also experiences such a thing when their civilians are attacked. So this time India took it upon itself, and then we finished off 9 of their important military bases, their air force bases, so that from where the threat emanated, those bases were eliminated. And I'm sure, as an Israeli, you would have liked this approach which India adopted this time. I heard you earlier also. You were complaining that India was going very soft on the terrorists and the mother of terrorists, that is Pakistan. But this time, I am very sure you would be a much satisfied man. And as I could see that you could find only one negative, and that was the narrative that we could not take it on. On ground, Operation Sindoor has been a success, a resounding success. But when it comes to the narrative warfare, we were found wanting at some point of time.
One of the enemies of civilized nation is being taken for granted. India and Israel were taken for granted. When things are
Exactly.
good, people think that we are used to good life. Same happened with India and Israel. We were economically well to do. Our population was gaining economically, and we didn't want to get inside a fight. So your enemy takes you for granted that if I do something, what can they do? They will not cross the threshold. But this time, India proved to them there are no red lines. Okay? There are no red lines. You will be hit, be quiet, take the slap, and keep quiet. But they said no. So they've thought that we will take it for granted that the India hits, we hit back as in the past after Balakot.
Mhm.
They thought the same will happen, tit for tat. India said no, we will up the ante. We will go for other targets inside Pakistan proper, Pakistani side. But when Pakistan and their elites will feel the
Mhm.
heat, I will not tell you it will change them, but they at least will think 1,000 times before taking action. Just as Iran has been proved when we took out all these, as they say in that movie, when you have to shoot, shoot, don't talk.
Don't talk.
This is what Israel and India has proved to the enemies. When it comes to shoot, our mouths will not do the shooting, our guns will do the shooting. You can mouth yourself as much as you want. We will do the shooting. And no red lines in the sand. This is what
Thank
both
you. Thank
countries, I hope, have come to a conclusion, especially India. As they say, लातों के भूत बातों से नहीं मानते.
you.
So these dogs, sorry, I don't want to speak against any dogs. Dogs are faithful. But this
Hmm.
kind of ideology, which
Hmm.
only knows killing, which only
Hmm.
knows to bring suffering to this world,
Hmm.
and only has one thing, the afterlife as a reward for them, you cannot negotiate with them. You cannot say that it's enough for them. They want the afterlife. How can you fight an enemy who wants to be killed and wants on his gravestone be written that I was
Hmm.
killed while trying to kill my enemy and their children?
Hmm.
It's high time Israel and India now tell them there is a high price to pay.
Be.
It will be not economical, it will be in blood, but it will be your blood.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Gabriel, for enlightening our viewers on the action that Israel has undertaken, which has been codenamed Operation Rising Lion, and discussing the similes between Operation Rising Lion and Operation Sindoor that the Indian Armed Forces undertook against the terrorist nation Pakistan, and finding out and bringing it to the notice of our viewers the negatives and the positives of the approach which India has been following or has followed. Thank you so much for joining us from Israel, and may God keep you safe. And thank you so much. Since you know Hindi so well, I would say Namaskar and Jai Hind.
Jai Hind, and let's hope that peace prevails in the end.
Thank you. Thank you, Gabriel.
Thank you.